It's another beautiful Sunday afternoon. This is Robin Minds. Welcome. My name is Ebuka Obiuchendu. Thanks a lot for joining us. We're starting off the conversation today with something that has become quite synonymous with work in the last 2 years. Work from home, freelancing. The approach or attitude to work has completely changed or is changing, especially for a place like Nigeria, which is usually traditional. But we're starting to see a shift in how people approach work. And we're going to be talking about that on the show today. I'm joined now by Sochi Azu and Omodara Dediran. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Great to be here. Thanks, Ebuka.
Let me start with you, Sochi. What do you think is happening in the workspace? Nigeria usually is very slow to adapt to sort of these new evolving ways. But with work, we're starting to see that happen here as well. I mean, work from home was very popular last year, of course, forced by the lockdown and all of the things that came with COVID. But a lot of places seem to have maybe adapted to that a little more. Are you seeing that happen, or are we still stuck, if that's a word to use, in our 9 to 5 ways, you think?
So you were right to say that in the Nigerian space, our employers are pretty much slow to adapt to anything similar to a work from home structure. However, their hands were forced last year with the pandemic, with the lockdown nationwide, worldwide. And, then they saw that, they had no choice but to conform. So I'll say, yes, it works. One of the interesting things about that lockdown and all the dynamics that follow the work from home imperative was that businesses, employers had to, reprioritize. And I think for some, if they're honest with themselves, began to find operational leakages, leakages in their models. Some people had to reevaluate their value chain. But what was most interesting and what is relevant to this conversation was how they could actually make working from home work. Now, a lot of the employers, a lot of businesses in Nigeria have thrived even with that. Some were already early in the game. Some were early in the game and found, took advantage of their head start. Some are actually slower to adapt even now. I'll take, for example, where I work right now, we're 50 to 25% capacity, meaning 50 or 25% of the workforce work on site, of course, with rotations, across different departments. But what we've seen is that the impact is translated to a lower operational cost than we had at the beginning of pre-COVID.
All right, let me come to you now, Modara. You work with a government agency that sort of works with, that deals with employment and things like that. What's government's view of sort of the changing attitude to work these days? Traditionally, government is seen as one of the slowest to adapt to things like this, even though Lagos State government, Lagos State as a whole, is one of the progressive states in the country. How does government view sort of the changing attitude to work and the work from home? What young people especially are doing with their time as regards work against what work is supposed to be seen as or used to be seen as?
Yes, I work for the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, LSCTF, and I lead the digital media communications team. Interestingly, even before the onset of the pandemic, we have a very flexible approach to work, I would say, because of the nature of the work that we do. You have people who, we have situations where our staff and people, our colleagues do work from home. We have people who, work from multiple locations, just to ensure that, the agency really meets its mandates. But to speak to the government's approach to it generally, I mean, we work with a lot of entrepreneurs. So we have programs where we even support these entrepreneurs to work from multiple locations, which may either be from the comfort of their homes or may be from workspaces. So really, it more for us is how many opportunities we're able to increase, irrespective of it's not really about where you work for us. It's about making sure that whatever platform that you find to do this work, it's sustainable, it yields something, and it's great for you. So this is something that the Lagos state government, especially our agency, really supports. So we just, I mean, before the onset of the pandemic, we had a lot of training. We had trainings, we had programs and things like that, which were mostly on site. But as the pandemic came, everybody had to change. So we then figured out a way to make sure that a lot of these things were either delivered through webinars, were delivered online, just to make sure that there was never that break where people don't get the opportunities that we want them to have access to. So this is something that we're supportive of, because we've realized that with or without the pandemic, in order to increase opportunities and give people more things to support employment and entrepreneurship, the online space has to be something that we're going to be open to. It's not really does government like it or not like it? We don't have a choice. The more things we're able to do online, the more opportunities we can create. So even when we had physical setups or physical platforms for people to access opportunities, we still had to do a lot of things online, because physical, you accommodate 500, a million people, you take it online and maybe that number triples or doubles or something like that. So as an organization, looking at it from where I work, it's something that we've always been open to. And then when you then look at it from the perspective of the entrepreneurs we support and also the people who are unemployed that we want to open up opportunities to, that platform is also provided for them. So yes, it's something I would say that in summary, we're in great support of, because it just really increases the opportunities for the people that we serve.
It's very good to hear that, because a lot of people who live in Lagos have always wondered, do we have to go to work? The traffic is, for want of a better word, crazy for a lot of people. So, the fewer people on the roads having to go to an office, the better for everybody. So besides even supporting it, we've always wondered, shouldn't government encourage it? And then secondly, what's your thoughts on freelancing? I've always wondered, and I think I saw that quite a bit in the media and social media when we saw the recent unemployment numbers at 33% from the Bureau of Statistics. Are freelancers captured in these things? How do you know if a freelancer is an employed Nigerian? What are sort of the metrics you use to actually show that a freelancer is a worker or is an employed Nigerian?
That's an interesting question. To start out with, I would take it from the perspective of when you say really looking at freelancers, are they recognized? Yes, they are. Because I would take this directly to one of our programs, the Lagos Innovates programs, which supports entrepreneurs who run tech-enabled businesses. A lot of these people before they become fully established, they really are freelancers. And some of them, when they fully set up, you find out that they're freelancers as well. Because if you look at it, how do we really define a freelancer, right? You would define that person as someone who, in layman's terms, you say somebody who doesn't have a stereotype 9 to 5. So a lot of programmers will be.
Okay, while we wait for her to come back, I saw you nodding your head, Esochi, when I talked about the freelance question. So what do you want to say to that?
Just telling her, that same line of tech-driven job descriptions or jobs. It's pretty, I would say, intuitive, or even organic for you to have, say, a developer would very easily will freelance. And this, ties back to how you define a freelancer. Is there someone who takes a job on the side, or is that someone who consults full time? I know for certain that we have freelancers, or we have developers who get paid as a business, even if they're just that one person. So call to mind some of the funny memes that you see online, where you have the picture of let's say Dara, three pictures of Dara. One picture, she's the project manager, she's the developer, she's the client service person, she's the CEO, and then when she's talking to the client, she's saying, Oh, don't worry. We'll get back to you. We're multidisciplinary agency, and it's just one person. It's just one Dara. So, however you look at it, I think the government sees freelancers as one entity, whether it's an individual or not. But the model that they work on is actually enabled or driven by technology. So we can actually draw a spectrum. So the closer you are, or the more advanced you are in, being tech-driven, the easier for you it would be to freelance no matter the situation.
Okay, Dara, you were making a point there. Just finish your point, sorry, before the technical issues came on. Yeah.
So I think I'll just pick up from Sochi's points because it helps me remember some of the things I was saying. So really and he's right, really, because you will capture these people as some business entity of some sort. A lot of freelancers, well, it will be a bit of an assumption to say a lot of freelancers are registered, but some of them are registered as business entities. It's so important for these freelancers to, even irrespective of how freelance you are or what it is that you're doing, it's so important to have some registration in place, because if you're going to grow whatever it is that you're freelancing on, if you're going to, grow it into a bigger company or a bigger entity, you will need this registration to progress. But it's interesting to see that the entrepreneurs that that we work with or that we support rather are people who have taken the step to do some form of registration for themselves. And it's really interesting. Some of them are just graphic designers. Some of them are maybe copywriters. Some of them own really tiny shops, but you'll be surprised that the very basics of basic business registration has been done in some capacity. And yeah, so that really is what it has been really for the freelancers. But I see that effort with a lot of entrepreneurs. You'll be surprised to find out that even people who are first-time graduates but have decided to go into entrepreneurship, even before they figured out what they want to do, they quickly go and register one business name, And I think it's an interesting development because it helps them to see things from a larger perspective. So even if they end up being the cook, chef, CEO, accountant, project manager and everything, at least they are creating some platform that would help them, grow as they progress. So yes.
All right, I said just to round up, I was a question to both of you, but I'll start with you, Amodara, first. 9 to 5 versus freelancing, you have a lot of offices where they say once you get a job, you can't do anything on the side, almost as if it's going to be a distraction. But like Sochi also said, this is a time when it's almost impossible to do just one thing. I mean, besides the fact that you might have one or two other passions, people are looking for extra money on the side. Do you think that's a feasible way to look at things, to say once you have this job, you can't do anything on the side? And finally, I think a few countries have started looking at 4-day work weeks. Do you think we're ever going to get there in Nigeria?
I think, honestly, I do think that with some companies we'll get there with the 4-day work week, but I'm not absolutely sure that it's a cover for everybody, just because we live in a society where people believe that when they see you in a place, that's when you're actually getting work done. That's a widespread thing. I mean, so for that reason, I think that it might, and also, because we're also a very traditional people, I see you, that means you're there, you're hailing me in the morning, she was doing some great work. So there's a bit of that. So I think that might make it slow. But if you notice, I mean, a lot of these, I once again will refer to the tech-enabled businesses because they always seem to be at the forefront of most things. I think that for them, they will get there faster because a lot of them, with or without the pandemic, were working from home, were working in multiple locations and figured out how to connect all their stuff together with very little issues. Have put processes in place that reduce the need for constant, physical human interaction. So I know that they would get there faster. A lot of them are already there, by the way. So, but for the rest, it might be a little slower. And really, it's something that, talks to system and processes. Now, to go back to what you asked about it being a 9-to-5er or a freelancer, that's an interesting question. I think if I were to be, absolutely honest, I think that in the environment we live in, a hybrid system is what works best, really. Being able to, doing both. It's really that hybrid system that works. So you run both a 9 to 5 and you're doing some freelancing on the other end. I think that the things that people just need to be cautious of is they have to be able to then be ethical about what they do. So for example, you can't expect to do the exact same version of what you're doing with your 9 to 5 on the side, if you know what I mean, which I understand is also a thin line, because then people will ask you, well, that's the skill I have, or it's the only skill I have, but then there has to be a way to draw the line. So for example, you can't be serving your organization's clients behind the scene. That's just ridiculous, at a cheaper price or something like that. So I think that being able to manage your time wisely will be very helpful. Being ethical will be very helpful, but the hybrid system is probably what works best. I can't tell you my preference, unfortunately, but I think that realistically, it's but I think realistically, it really is that hybrid system that works best.
All right, Sochi?
Let me start by saying, no, I don't think that would work for an employer to tie an employee down in a no PP agreement or contract. My reason is this: it's actually more beneficial for the employer, and I'm beginning to see a lot of a trend of employers who take the non-conventional route in employing or recruiting talents. So, I saw one by a fast-moving consumer goods player where they said, what, don't send us a resume, send us a video of you and just tell us, tell us what makes you different. Now, such a tactic actually panders to a need to recruit a talent who is not just focused on one thing, but actually has a flair for thinking outside the box, not being straitjacket. And it's doing that actually brings more perspectives, or more perspective to solving problems on the job. And I would prefer, so if for some of my direct reports, I don't mind if you have something on the side. What I do appreciate is you bringing fresh angles, bring that insight from whatever challenges you face on the in whatever engagements you have on the side. Bring it in, bring it on board, bring it to the table. Let's talk about it. You begin to appreciate the depth to which you apply these solutions gets richer, and you're able to see end to end, and see a big picture more clearly that way. So I think there's a lot for the employer to benefit by having employees who have passions, who explore other engagements, as long as they're bringing the full weight of that, the full value of that engagement to the table, or bringing it to their work. That's fine. However, we have to tread carefully, because just as Dara has also mentioned, there are ethical lines that must not be crossed. So, pitching or poaching clients, exposing company secrets, those are things to watch out for. There are pitfalls. Unfortunately, I'm not as optimistic as Dara that in the Nigerian space, I'm sorry, Dara, but I'm not as positive in the Nigerian that in the Nigerian space, employers are ready for the 4-day work week. Reason being that just imagine how far it's taken us to get here, where people feel forced to work from home, where employers feel forced to work from home, as opposed to actually focusing on work even in a period longer than 4-day work from home situations, whatever situation. However, and that's also that, having said that, we have to also be reminded that even in the Western space, or even in US or Europe, they are still battling with certain issues of this speaks to perspective from an employee, from an employee's view, where they have to still work around the ways in which they can still remain visible while they work from home. You will agree that working on site is an easier way. You can just easily walk into someone, your boss's office, get feedback, say good morning, bring him a cup of tea, just so that you say, hey, I'm here. But you can't do that in the virtual world or in the virtual platform. Having said that, you would realize that in Nigerian space, if they don't see you, you don't exist. If they don't see you, you're not working. So, if people have to work real hard or even harder to please a boss who never even believed in a work from home structure.
All right, thank you very much, Sochi. Thank you very much, Amadar. I'm sure a lot of people are very keeping their fingers crossed, hoping that we actually get there someday. But yeah, I don't know that we're there yet in Nigeria with a 4-day work week. It's going to take a while. All right, thanks a lot. We're going to take a break now and come back. Please don't go away.